I'm going to talk a little bit here about color settings and designing for persons with color blindness. In terms of color settings, if we're working on a project that is going to be used in video, then we want to use particular color mode. And that mode here that I can get by clicking on image in the main menu in Photoshop is RGB. Okay. CMYK color is for print media. For all digital media that's output, whether it be for web or video, is RGB. The other thing we want to check under Edit is Color Settings. And here, typically like to use North American Web Internet. Most video that we make will be viewed on the internet. These settings should already be set this way by default on Photoshop for you, but just double check, cross check these to make sure that these match your file. Now, in order to make sure that this image will work for anyone with any type of vision impairments, as I'm coloring it, I want to be able to periodically check it in two ways. So first thing I'm going to do is add this HueSat adjustment layer to the very top, and I'm going to turn the saturation all the way down. Okay, I will turn this off for now and turn it back on later as a check. If this image works in grayscale, it will work for anyone, regardless of what kind of color blindness impairment they may have. So that's our ultimate check later on. I'm going to color this image quickly right now in a way that I know is going to fail for red-green colorblind people, which is about 8% of the population. So we're not talking about a small number of people here. So I'm going to go to the person layer. I'm going to make a hue and saturation adjustment on it. I'll colorize it, and that should work. And now I'm going to select the black part here of the person, do something similar, colorize, lighten it up to about a mid-tone. And this time I'm going to make it green. So looks like Christmas. This is not a color combination that I am planning on using, or would probably rarely use unless I was doing something with a Christmas theme. But nevertheless, here we are with a red and green color scheme. Now let's take a look at how we can see this in different ways to check whether it is going to make sense for somebody with color blindness. I'm going to go to Proof Setup. Okay, and Photoshop gives me some options. Right now I'm on Internet Standard. That should be your standard option while you're working. We're creating something that's going to go into a video that's going to go on the web or television. So that works really well. I'm going to go down here though, and I'm going to choose color blindness, deuteranopia, and that is the most common form of color blindness by far. It's red-green colorblind. Probably out of the 8% of colorblind people, this is like 7% of them. And you can see when I do that, everything just turns yellow, or it's kind of brown. All right, so that color scheme doesn't really work all that well. Let's go back here to Internet Standard. And now let's turn on our hue and sat layer that shows us what this looks like in grayscale. And once again, you can see the values are fairly close to each other, so it's kind of hard to differentiate in a lot of places here, the forms. Hopefully this gives you some idea of what colors, red and green, how they interact with persons with color blindness. Now let's see if we can fix this image up a little bit. Let's take the person here again, and let's do a hue and sat adjustment. And let's make this person yellow. And then let's make the part that's red right now. Let's make that blue. Okay. And let's check our colorblind filter or preview and see how that looks. Well, that's a lot better. You can see there's almost no change. That's because persons with red and green colorblind basically have kind of two color vision, which is yellow and blue. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to make, your images all yellow and blue. But I'm showing you this just so you can kind of, see how these two color schemes, these best case, worst case color schemes, can work. Now I'm going to turn my hue and sat grayscale layer on, and you see I didn't really get much improvement there. I still have a lot of problems here differentiating these edges with adjacent areas. So just because I got the color to work doesn't mean that I have a good image yet. Okay, so in order to do that, I think what I need to do is adjust the values of these two colors. I'm going to select this this blue area, and I'm going to go to hue and sat. I'm going to make it a lot darker. Okay, so now I have a good tonal range difference, and I think I will make that yellow a little lighter. So now I can go to standard RGB. Still holds up between that and the colorblind preview. And then I can turn on my hue and sat layer. And you can see there's good differentiation here between the character outline and this surrounding shape. Now I'm going to show you the final color scheme of the image that I'm working on for this assignment, which looks like this. And let's test this to see how it holds up with the previews. Now I do have green in here, so you might think that's not the best color choice. Purple, it's not blue, it's a little bluish. Let's check it first with colorblind, red-green colorblind filter. And it actually holds up pretty well. This all kind of turns to this warm kind of yellowish color, and this turns to blue, but there's a clear differentiation between the two. So I think the image still holds up pretty well. Let's go back to RGB and turn on my hue and sat layer. And once again, I think, I can differentiate this character outline quite well. I can differentiate the spaceship and the ray. So I think it still is holding up pretty well. I'm going to call this image a success. And I'm going to ask you to check your images as you work using the really great preview modes in Photoshop, and also using a grayscale hue and sat layer. Well, thank you for watching this video tutorial. I hope that in the future, as you create media for the general population out there, you'll keep in mind that 8% of them are colorblind, and there's another several percent that have other kinds of sight impairments. So high contrast images that use colors that will hold up under a variety of conditions will make you a good citizen designer.